G'day! Welcome to Navadia. How's you going, everyone? Today, I want to talk about something really fun, rooted in scientific accuracy, not toxic at all, and generally just really wholesome and benign and quite sweet. You know, incels! The reason why is a friend of mine wanted me to look into self-help masculinity and to consider their point of view. So, of course, they sent me this video to watch. I did warn them, however, that I will respond to this video, and here it is. It's by a YouTuber called Steph is Cold. He's hidden his subscriber count, but I can guarantee you that it's big. According to Social Blade, he's got about 201,000 subscribers, but the last update was in 2018, so my guess is that he's got around about 800,000 subscribers, going by the number of views he's got on a video. As a creator, you want to aim for approximately 1/3 of views to your subscriber count. Obviously, this is a guess because I don't know how much his audience engages with him or how many hate watchers he has. His sub count could, of course, be higher or lower. Nevertheless, I am confident that my unspoken rule of don't go after smaller creators and risks giving them unwarranted publicity is not going to be broken. By the way, this video is monetized, so thanks for being consistent, YouTube.
Well, because emotionally unavailable is a guy that's in control of his emotions, it's a guy that's in control. Emotionally unavailable to a woman is alpha.
Ooh, starting off nicely with a bit of misogyny. Do you see how he implies that being in control emotionally is better than having emotions? Keep in mind that women are often stereotyped as being emotional, and this stereotype is often used to downplay their very real frustrations at being treated like crap. Also, there is a massive lack of scientific research into the idea that humans do have alpha or beta qualities. The closest thing I could find was a Pop Sci article saying that scientists are unsure. In the article's Psychology Today, it says, in Faye Flam's book, The Score, The Science of Male Sex Drive, Stanford professor Robert Spolosky shares his misgivings, stating that alpha males in other species operate differently than what is observed among humans. He notes that in dogs and wolves, for example, every member has a place in the hierarchy. And among baboons, he notes, the alpha male dominates over a group of subordinates who are equal in power to each other until he is challenged and overthrown. In these species, the alphas exert more power. Humans are more complex, Sapolsky says. We belong to more than one social circle. A man who may be a custodian by day may be a superstar DJ by night. Flam also interviewed anthropologist Tim White, who said that alpha males likely ruled the common ape ancestor humans shared with chimps roughly 7 million years ago, but they no longer exist among humans. Essentially, this idea of alpha and beta humans is based on a hypothesized social arrangements in human ancestors from 7 million years ago. I know it may not feel like it, but surprisingly, human society has moved on from that. Oh, and fun fact, this claim also comes from a disproven study about wolves that even the original researcher disavowed. An article sent to me was written in the Greater Good magazine, which is associated with Berkeley University. It states, alpha males are those at the top of the social status hierarchy. They have greater access to power, money, and mates, which they gain through physical prowess, intimidation, and domination. Alphas are typically described as the real men. In contrast, the beta males, the weak, submissive, subordinate guys who are low status and only get access to mates once women decide to settle down and go searching for a nice guy. This distinction, which is often based on observation among other social animals, such as chimpanzees and wolves, paints a very black and white picture of masculinity. Not only does it greatly simplify the multidimensionality of masculinity and grossly underestimates what a man is capable of becoming, but it doesn't even get to the heart of what is really attractive to women. This article talks about an experiment conducted on the ever-useful university student. They gave 2 scenarios to the participants and asked which one was more sexually desirable. Both were tennis players called John. The first one was described as, John is 5 foot 10 inches and 165 pounds. That's 178 centimeters and 75 kilograms for those people who use measurements that actually make sense. He has been playing tennis for 1 year and is currently enrolled in an intermediate tennis class. Despite his limited amount of training, he is a very coordinated tennis player who has won 60% of his matches. His serve is very strong and his returns are extremely powerful. In addition to his physical capabilities, he has the mental qualities that lead to success in tennis. He's extremely competitive, refusing to yield against opponents who have been playing much longer. All of his movements tend to communicate dominance and authority. He tends to psychologically dominate his opponents, forcing them off their games into making mental mistakes. The second one was described as, his serve and his returns are consistent and well placed. Although he plays well, he prefers to play for fun rather than to win. He is not particularly competitive and tends to yield to opponents who've been playing tennis much longer. He is easily thrown off his game by opponents who play with great authority. Strong opponents are able to psychologically dominate him, sometimes forcing him off his game. He enjoys the game of tennis but avoids highly competitive situations. Across 4 studies, the researchers found that the dominant scenarios were considered more sexually attractive, although dominant John was regarded as less likable and not desired as a spouse. Taken at face value, this study seems to support the sexual attractiveness of dominant alpha male over the submissive beta male. However, that's not the end of the study. The article then goes on to a follow-up study where women were asked which adjectives they would prefer for an ideal date and an ideal long-term partner. The article describes that dominant adjectives such as aggressive, demanding, assertive, and confident, and non-dominant adjectives such as easygoing, quiet, sensitive, shy, and submissive. This is where it gets interesting. Only 1 out of the 50 undergraduates would prefer a man to be dominant as an ideal date or long-term partner. However, confident was very favourable for the women as 72% of them said it would be an ideal date and 74% would be an ideal partner. 48% of women said an ideal date would be assertive and 36% said they would like an assertive long-term partner. Not one woman wanted a demanding date and only 12% wanted an aggressive person for a date and a romantic partner. In regards to the non-dominant traits, 68% of women wanted an easygoing date and 64% wanted an easygoing long-term partner. And flying in the face of this guy's opinion, which, let's be honest, is only an opinion, 76% of women wanted a sensitive man for an ideal date or a long-term partner. While this study only had 50 women in it, which is way too small to infer statistical significance, my anecdotal evidence, which you should always take with a grain of salt, is that I have never met a woman who doesn't want an emotionally available man. In fact, I know of women who have entered relationships because she couldn't get him to open up. I myself have entered relationships for this reason. It is a detrimental personality trait if you want to have a long-term relationship, or any relationship with a woman for that matter. The article goes on to talk about prestige and dominance, which I will not get into too deeply, but I strongly recommend you read the article if you have any questions about it. Long story short, people who tend to have the alpha qualities of confidence, but the beta qualities of kindness and empathy tend to be more prestigious and have more long-term success than the stereotypical alpha man.
Emotionally unavailable is alpha to her. It's not beta, it's alpha to her. That's why she goes for these kind of guys, because she can't help it. She can't help but to go for these kind of guys. And that's just the truth of it. That's just what it is.
Here's a hint. As soon as someone tells you what the truth is, go research it yourself. Because more often than not, it's a big pile of steaming poo.
Certain things, fellas, that we got to understand about women and female nature is certain things they just can't help. Certain things, certain men are just irresistible.
Oh, look, the male has logged on to tell everyone how women think. People like this turn everything into black and white thinking and stereotypes, which is literally one of the worst ways to think. Everything has nuance. In fact, the only truly binary thing I can think of is binary code. Maybe a light switch, but then again, there's dimming lights. A perfect example of a man that's irresistible to women in this guy's mind, I'm assuming, would probably be physically strong, emotionally aloof, probably owns a gun, earns $150,000 a year, and is tall. To him, that's a woman's biggest turn on. If you can be that, you will get all of the women you want. Too bad if you're not tall, though. To me, this guy is a nightmare. I wouldn't touch that man with a 10-foot pole. Yeah, earning $150,000 a year would be nice, but I'm not that motivated by money to grab myself a man. I'm financially independent already. I absolutely love being able to buy my own things with my own money. My values within a relationship are not how much money a guy has, but instead how much love and respect he can give me. Not only that, $150,000 a year is significantly more than what I earn, so that could cause a situation that is open for financial abuse. For example, if we go on holiday, he'd be able to pay for most things and then turn around and use that as a way for emotional abuse. He'd hold the financial power over me. He'd be able to say, I earn enough money for both of us so you don't have to work. One of the classical things an abusive partner does is isolate you from your support networks, including your job. While I'm not saying that will 100% happen, it's just that too much of a gap between my yearly income and his would probably be a turn-off for me for that reason. I'd honestly wouldn't want to date him. Being physically strong and tall is nice, but still a meh. I don't put strong or tall men on a pedestal. I mean, he's more likely to be classically attractive and comes with the advantage, of course, being able to open some jars. Yeah, it might even help me move some furniture. However, if he becomes abusive, that's a very dangerous thing for me. And the stereotype Steph is cold encourages breeds abusive behaviour. His doctrine of a man needing to dominate women, be emotionally unavailable, and to reduce women down to automatons that only think with their genitalia and their emotions will only produce bad outcomes. Emotional unavailability means that I'd also be on a perpetual treadmill of confusion and anxiety when this alpha man, who, contrary to popular belief, most humans, regardless of their gonads, don't actually enjoy and would rather in fact avoid entirely. Which is why the idea of his description of an alpha male potentially owning a gun terrifies me.
Right? Certain things they just can't resist. You might know a woman right now that just probably can't resist you no matter who she's with, whether she's with a husband and she says she's love him and she posted his Facebook pictures and they live happily ever loved and whatever, right? But you imprinted her in a way where she is irresistible to you. Well, you're irresistible to her. It's like she can never stop thinking about you. Right?
When I first heard this, I thought, imprinted her in a way where you're irresistible to her? What does that mean? She's not a fucking newborn. After some research, I discovered that it is a debunked psychological theory that has to do with infantilizing women. He thinks that basically being attractive enough will cause an obsessive spiral that will eventually get married women to cheat. As much as he might think that being excessively attractive would make a woman want to have sex with him, I can guarantee you that having a perfectly symmetrical face is no pinhole to pierce the condom of his personality. This guy's encouraging men to try and get married women to fall in love with them. I have a major problem with this attitude beyond, of course, the obvious. I know that these alpha male types look at women with an idea of dominating them. I do think that in their minds, if they can get her to cheat on her husband, she's showing her that her husband is a beta male. I very seriously doubt that this has anything to do with romantic feelings, but instead a way to show dominance over both a woman and another man, and not in the good, consensual BDSM way. I don't kink shame, you do you. Just keep yourself safe. If my suspicions are correct, this is both misogyny and misandry through and through. This attitude also shows a fundamental lack of respect for other men. It feeds into the idea that if you are cheated on, you're a simp, a lesser man, your wife is a whore, you should be ashamed of yourself, you absolute beta cuck. That is totally not true. Cheating happens for multiple reasons. If you do get cheated on, it doesn't make you a lesser man. Each situation is unique. In poly relationships, some men actually find it really sexy that their wives or girlfriends are having sex with other men. But at the heart of it, if your partner cheats outside of the bounds set in your relationship, it is usually because there was a breakdown of communication. If you are emotionally uncommunicative because you adhere to the idea that men aren't emotional, then what do you expect? It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Being cheated on sucks. Losing a relationship you cherished sucks. But it happens. It's life. Living in fear because of some bizarre idea that women will always hurt me will inevitably cause you to never open up, which will drive that woman away, reinforcing the idea that all women will hurt you.
Because you are irresistible. You cannot, it's just something about you that she can't resist, right? Something about you that she just can't resist. And it's 9 times out of 10, bro, it's not the look, bro.
Citation needed.
We really have to understand this. It's not always the look, because you still have to talk and your game still has to be on point. And when you're talking and your game is on point and you're not emotionally acting beta, it turns the woman on.
What was that again? Oh yeah, 76% of women wanted a man who was sensitive. Empathetic yet confident men tended to have better long-term success in both relationships and careers. It looks like the emotional beta cucks are actually more successful people. Look, I know this guy is the kind of piece of shit that will claim women don't actually know what we want, but let me ask the ladies out there in the comment section. Would you so much as sleep with a dude who thinks that you don't understand your own desires? Would it be fun if you did? Let me know.
The woman actually likes that. You know what I'm saying? She actually likes that. Women like that. Like, she'll test you and then you won't get in your feelings. You'll be like, that's the quickest way to pass the test is not caring about the test.
Wait, there's a test? Since when? I've never heard of any test to start dating women. What does this test involve? Like, how many push-ups you can do? Can you dance the Macarena and not look like a complete idiot? What's the test? Think of it this way. If someone puts you through a test to see how loyal, respectful you are, or for any other reason, that is an abuse situation. It shows that the person testing you does not trust you. If your relationship is not built on trust, it gives them permission to cross personal boundaries, such as monitoring finances, phone activity, social media, and friends. Remember the time that you took that $100 sitting on the table? I can't trust you with money, so I have to take control of all of the bank cards. I don't care if I said you could take it. Remember that time I told my best friend to try and sleep with you and you did? Well, because of that, I must have your Twitter and Facebook logins. I don't care if you're blackout drunk. You should have known better. That shit happens. Testing somebody in any way, even to start a relationship with you, is not okay. Him framing normal courtship behavior like wanting to go out for a cup of coffee as a woman's tests give women a sinister undertone which is simply not there.
Passing a woman's test is not like an exam. You don't study for it because women are backwards.
Dude, I have a pot that your kettle will get along really well with. The only thing backwards about this video are your attitudes.
It's not like school. It's not like you have to study all night and all day to pass the test. To pass a woman's test is to not care about the test. That's the quickest way to pass a woman's test is to not care. It's to always hold frame. You know how you see a picture frame with a wolf and like my wolf that's back at home in my place in Texas, like it's in the frame and it's holding this picture up? That's frame. That's who you are. Frame is holding up that masculinity. Every man should have frame.
What he's arguing here that on the surface makes literally no sense is a warped version of Stoicism. Stoicism is a philosophy advocating the idea that if you can change your internal narrative about something, you'll change troublesome emotions based on it. The evidence-based treatment for eating disorders and some personality disorders is CBT or cognitive behavioral therapy and is based on Stoicism. Stoicism is not about being emotionless. It's about learning how to regulate your emotions and responses in a healthy way. An example of an unhealthy narrative would be believing that all women are just out-bone alphas and you're a beta because you got rejected by your best friend when you asked her out. A Stoic would look at what objectively happened. You asked your best friend out and she said no. And they'll ask themselves if the narrative, all women just want alphas and I'm a beta, is just true. It's not. The fact that your friend rejected you does not prove the latter. Nor does it prove that the guy she's dating must automatically be abusive and worse than you. You don't know why she liked him or had feelings for him. You can't control whether or not she has feelings for you. Accepting that is the other part of healthy stoicism. Burning all of your emotions to dust is both impossible and unhealthy and is not stoicism.
And when you break out of frame, she will see it. She would test your frame constantly. And when you as a man, you cannot let her get to your emotions. They love that. They love when they can't, when she can't get to your emotions. She love that because she keep poking. She keep chasing. That's why women go for emotionally unavailable men. Why? Because they like the challenge.
Please refer to the study that I cited earlier on in the video. At least I have some form of scientific research behind my claims. This guy, from what I can tell, is completely, irrefutably wrong. Being emotionally unavailable will only hurt your partner, causing them to leave you and proving yourself right. Women will only hurt you. But how often do people who have this thought process self-reflect and realize that, in fact, their attitudes towards their emotions and women are the reason why they leave? But even if she doesn't leave, this attitude will only attract women who are easily abused. They tend to be the emotionally codependent fixer or caretaker, and they usually have deep trauma. These sorts of relationships between two people like this will never be healthy as a result. Relationships require healthy boundaries to thrive.
They want the chase of changing him when they can't change him. Most of these women do it, man. They do it all the time. Oh, I don't like an emotionally unavailable man. Oh, be quiet. You was just shucking him off. Not sucking him off. Shucking him off till he bust. He ain't busting, he bust. You know what I'm saying? You were just sucking him off.
I rest my case.
Because that's what she likes. That's what we fellas got to understand. That's what she likes. She desires that kind of guy. She don't desire a dude that's all in his feelings, especially a Chad or a Tyrone that's in his feelings. That's the biggest turnoff.
Again, it is the complete opposite. This guy who thinks he knows everything about women is demonstrably wrong about women. A physically attractive guy like a Chad or Tyrone, who is also in touch with his feelings, is one of the biggest turns on for women. Seriously, I am a woman. While I cannot talk for all women, as we are not a homogenous group, which this guy clearly doesn't understand, I can tell you the vast majority of women I know prefer a man who is emotionally available. By the way, did you notice the undertones of racism here? As most of you know, Tyrone is a typical African American name. Why make the distinction between a Chad, who is presumably white, and a Tyrone, who is presumably black? So far, he's been misogynistic, misandric, which is like misogyny but aimed at men, and racist. He truly is a garbage human being.
Why? Because when she sees a guy that's attractive and he doesn't act like how he looks, it is a turnoff. He's emotionally available. Emotionally available is automatically beta.
No, this attitude is beta. This attitude screams to me of a man who is childish, pathetic, fragile, and never introspective. This attitude will never hold on to a woman who has any form of self-respect, and it is an attitude that is a major turn-off to most women.
It's automatically beta. Why? Because you're giving yourself to a woman who doesn't even earn the right for you to give yourself away. She doesn't even earn that right, but you're automatically just giving yourself away to her just because of what she has between her legs, which is what simps do.
1. What is wrong with giving yourself away? Give me one really good reason as to why being emotionally available is a bad thing. You're more likely to get the girl. You're more likely to have a long-term relationship with her. You're more likely to live longer with less stress. It's true. Toxic masculinity is linked with male heart disease. I don't like to use Adam Ruins Everything as a source, but his video on the myth of alpha and beta males is cited, so you can go and read the studies yourself. I'll link the video in the description below. I won't go into the science because this video is way too long as it is. 2. Why does a woman have to earn the right to be able to form an emotional bond with you? A relationship that is transactional will not last. Yes, being emotionally distant at first is common, but that's because you don't know what you have in common. But once you start finding things, your emotional bonding will occur. You don't earn emotional availability, you develop it. A guy who plays mind games with a woman, i.e. not a simp, will have greater difficulties with getting with a woman. If she's educated on abusive behaviour, she's more likely to pick up these abuse tactics and leave. However, even if she is educated on abusive behaviour, she's still at risk of being trapped in an abusive relationship. And this is what this guy is teaching his followers: how to be an abusive person. A question I'd like to pose is this: why is a simp an insult anyway? Being kind to a partner is how you bond with them in the first place. How are you supposed to enjoy your relationship if you can't ever show these feelings to your partner? Why are you allowing yourself to be perpetually trapped on the hamster wheel of fear of losing her? Where is the joy in a relationship where you're basically ideologically obliged to treat your partner like shit?
Simps pedestalize a woman and do nice things for her in hopes, not in guaranteedness, but in hopes of getting what's between her legs.
Pedestalize? Guarantees? Okay, ignoring that language, I want to talk about this attitude. If a man does his absolute best in order to get into a woman's pants, it just screams desperation. If he's desperate, women will smell it a mile off and run in the opposite direction. That's happened to me several times, in both directions. It sucks, but it's life. If this guy had any useful dating advice, it would be just be yourself. Don't be desperate. If it works out, and if it doesn't, oh well, it just wasn't meant to be. Be grateful for the times you spent together. Instead, he's spewing toxic ideals where he dehumanizes both women and men. He turns women into a two-dimensional monolith, which is clearly not true, and men into either pathetic wimps or manly tough men, which, again, is clearly not true.
Pedestalization, be a hoverer, be an orbiter, friend zone, right? Be the best friend, right? Without the benefits of the best friend. Not that kind of best. We're talking about the beta cuck best friend, the homo best friend.
Oh, I was wondering where the homophobia was going to come in. Friendzoning is a lie anyway. It's the expectation that if you're nice to a woman, she's obligated to be with you. This is an unhealthy attitude. If you're only friends with me to get into my pants someday, you are not my friend, and you would probably suck as a boyfriend with your entitled attitude. I had someone tell me once that the best of all the gifts that someone can give you is time. You can't replace time. You can't return it for a better time. You can't hop on eBay and purchase time. Once it's gone, it's gone. Even if someone doesn't end up being a lover, but a best friend, you still have that gift that they have given you, which is their time that they will never get back. Being in the fictitious friend zone is still better than having no relationship with that person at all. Yeah, it sucks, but even still, I'd rather have a friend who's not my lover than nobody at all.
That's what we're talking about, right? And these happen when you are emotionally available. What's emotionally available? Hearing her out when she talking about another dude to you. That's you're emotionally being available to her in that moment. Why? Because you can't help it. You beta.
You know what? Stories like this make me very convinced he does not have any relationship with any woman, or at least when he recorded this video. There's a test in the media called the Bechdel test, and it goes like this. For the media to pass the test, it needs to have a conversation between two women about a subject that's anything other than a man. That's it. It's a pretty low bar, isn't it? Even still, 4 of the 10 Oscar winners in 2020 did not pass this test. In 2016, a third of the 50 highest grossing movies did not pass the test. It's pretty ridiculous to have such a low bar so rarely leapt over. But why am I talking about the Bechdel test? Well, if women are portrayed in media as talking to each other only about men, attitudes like this will arise. I am a woman. I have many female friends. Yes, some of my conversations with them revolve around men, but more often than not, we're talking about things that are completely unrelated to them. For example, I had several hours of conversation with my female script editor about this script. This script is not a man. We also talked about crafts and the news and international shipping rates. Last time I checked, none of those things are male. I also co-host a weekly science show with another woman, Scientist Mel. The vast majority of our conversation is about, you guessed it, science. Also not male. Women also tend to have tact. If a woman knows, she might not have picked up on the hint, but if a woman knows that you are in love with her and she's friend-zoning you, the chances are that they aren't going to talk to you about the man she's in love with. And if she does, she's probably a garbage person that you don't want in your life anyway.
Want to be there? Oh, I want to be there for you, honey. Honey, I want to be there for you. I want to make sure you're okay. You okay, babe? You be soft. You don't got no backbone. You weak. That's just what it is. That's bottom line. That's just what it is.
Opening up about your emotions to another person is really fucking brave. Being vulnerable to another person is really fucking brave. Because you risk getting hurt. Putting on a mask of, I'm tough and nothing can hurt me, is the weakest, most cowardly shit you could do. That's the bottom line. That's just what it is.
Fellas, this is what we gotta understand, man. Some guys just can't help but to be beta forever. Some guys just can't lead. Some guys don't want to lead because it takes too much work. It takes too much sacrifice. It takes too much discipline to be alpha. It's easier being beta.
And there's nothing wrong with that. Too many cooks spoil the soup. Our society is based on people who lead and people who don't. If we have too many leaders, we don't get the basics done because nobody will want to do them. Some people aren't cut out to lead, but their strength could be in something entirely else. Humans aren't black and white, two-dimensional things that fit neatly into boxes.
Follow a trend. Be a drifter. Don't think for yourself how other people think for you. Right? Just like the movie They Live, right? When they put these things I did a little review on the movie They Live on my Patreon, and they will put these signs when he put the red pill lens glasses on. It'll say, "Obey." What are you obeying to? The blue pill society and how they want you to think.
Oh, the irony of a guy repeating incel logic talking about thinking for yourself. Brilliant.
That's what you're obeying to. That's what it is. You don't want that. You got to switch up your thinking. Women are backwards. When a woman tell you to do something, don't do it, because she don't want you to do it.
Another example of a self-fulfilling prophecy. Most people just don't do that. The vast majority of the time, if someone asks you to do something, is that they want you to do it. If I was dating someone who did the exact opposite of what I asked them to do, they would not last long in a relationship with me. And I would hazard a guess most women would probably have the same attitude.
Y'all finna have intercourse, right? Y'all finna get it in, and you'll be kissing her down her neck, and she'll say, "No, don't kiss my breast." And you just start kissing her breast, and her whole body just twisting like an exorcism. No, don't do it. That's a turn on to her. No, don't do it. Means, oh, do it so bad. Take advantage of me. That's a turn on. They like that.
Right. Now rape apologetics. This guy is literally telling his followers to rape women. Holy shit! This is why comprehensive sex education with an emphasis on consent is an important thing. I honestly think this guy is a rapist. I genuinely believe that. This is my opinion. I, of course, have no proof beyond his attitude here. But this attitude is how rape happens. Even if he isn't yet because he repels women like duck feathers repel water, one of his underlings who took this advice probably became one because of him.
What I tell y'all, it can't be her fault to why y'all doing what y'all doing anyway. That's why if she has a man and she finna cheat, she is finna blame everything on why her man ain't nothing. And right in that moment, just so she can feel okay with letting another guy dig out her guts.
As I said before, a woman cheating on her husband may have a myriad of reasons to do so. When was the last time they had sex? Is he out of town for huge amounts of time? Is he cheating on her? Is he abusive? Do they hate each other? There are so many reasons why a woman may cheat on her husband. Some good, some bad. But at the very least, don't turn her into a piece of meat by describing sex with her as digging her guts out.
When deep down, she knows that the guy she's with is everything that she wants, but it's not everything that she desires. Desires and wants are two different things. People want to be self-employed, people want to be entrepreneurs, but they don't have the desire.
Again, with the black and white thinking, I swear I'm repeating myself a little bit too much, but he does it himself. I certainly do not want to be self-employed. I just don't have the business acumen. I'm not entrepreneurial. I just want to go into a lab and grow microbes and do research. That is all I want to do. Running a business for me sounds like the most painful experience that I could ever do. The more I learn about this guy, the more I realize that he probably doesn't have any life experience.
Just like Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill said, man, you got to have the desire, the definite purpose.
Oh my God. Napoleon Hill was an absolute fraud. I won't go into details because it's a long enough video as it is, so please see in the description below CoffeeZilla's debunk of the man who Napoleon Hill really was.
People don't have that burning desire of definite purpose. If they did, they would know what to do every day. She gotta have that burning desire for you. A chick that wants you ain't gonna slide in your DMs. A chick that wants you just gonna like 3 of your pictures. A chick that desires you, a chick that have a burning desire for you, is gonna like your pictures and slide in your DMs and comment on one of your stories. What a shot. Not saying that the woman that likes your pictures can't lead into having a burning desire for you. I'm just saying right off the bat, you gotta have a burning desire to not be beta.
What, like an emotionally mature guy who doesn't shatter at the idea that a woman might not want to date him? What, like that beta?
You gotta have a burning desire to not want to respond in an emotional way. It is hard holding your tongue and holding frame. It's not easy. Any man to tell you your holding frame is easy. It's simple. Holding frame is all holding frame mean is holding your masculinity.
To me, masculinity is a guy who is not emasculated by the idea that another bloke is having sex with a woman he was too afraid to open up to. It is a man who understands that women aren't these two-dimensional pieces of meat whose only purpose in life is to have sex with him. who isn't afraid to be around homosexual men, who isn't upset by women who don't want to have sex with him, who treats women like humans and doesn't judge other men on arbitrary characteristics, who recognizes that the world is a lot more complicated and a lot less ugly than this guy. The masculinity this guy espouses is toxic, fragile, and pathetic. And he wonders why women just don't want to be with him. As much as he wants you to believe otherwise, he's going to die alone, notching his belt with all of the blow-up dolls he's purchased to assuage his loneliness. He continues on about holding frame and controlling your emotions that make you alpha, and reiterates the very wrong assertion that women like emotionally unavailable men. If you take this person's advice, you are not going to succeed in life. In business, relationships, or family. Everything he just said is demonstrably wrong. In business, not expressing emotions can make you lose clients. In relationships, well, I think I've explained that one adequately. And in family, you'll alienate everyone that you care about. If you do follow him, you need to ask yourself why you do. Why would you listen to someone who espouses a massive victim complex hidden behind macho rhetoric? He sounds like he's manly, but all he does is complain. To make his argument, he throws up massive strawmans about women and ad hominem men who don't follow his advice as simps or beta, when in fact all of the men he criticizes doing are engaging in healthy courtship. When his advice inevitably backfires, he blames it on women or these beta cucks without a single ounce of introspection. His masculinity crumbles at the mere idea that a woman may be more interested in an emotionally available man, so he makes every excuse under the sun to reinforce his pathetic and weak ideology. He can only think in black and white, and that's just not reality. Women are not a monolith. Women are humans. We are rich, complex, and interesting people who undergo a wide range of life experiences. You cannot say all women like this or all women like that. It's a logical fallacy called hasty generalization, and it's just not true. You need to ask yourself, how many women are there on this planet? 3.5 billion? 4? And this guy has said that every single woman on the planet thinks, behaves, and is motivated by exactly the same things. How ridiculous. His attitudes are just pathetic. They're weak, pointless, cowardly, and idiotic. He puts on a mask of manliness to hide the quivering child beneath it. He spews literal hate speech and advocates violence towards women. This violence can manifest in relationship abuse, as well as actual mass violence. In 2009, George Sedini killed 3 women and injured 9 others. He was an incel. In 2014, Elliot Rodger killed 6 people and injured 14 others. He was an incel. Modern incels now celebrate him as a hero and talk about wanting to go all Elliot. In 2015, Chris Harper Mercer killed 9 people and injured 8 others. He was an incel. In 2018, Alec Manassian was charged with 10 counts of first-degree murder and 16 counts of attempted murder. He was an incel. These are just some examples of terrorist attacks by people driven by incel ideology. There are incels that think sexual market values, a subjective term for the community made up for how bangable a person is, should be assigned on IDs, and that women should lose a point for every man that they've been with. Women who hit 0 should be forced to sleep with an incel man as state-sponsored sex slaves for the rest of their lives. Why would you want to be a part of that? In my honest opinion, following him or people like him is dangerous and unhealthy. The whole incel identity is rooted in hate, and hate begets hate. It can manifest into violent extremism, and nothing good will come of it. The incel ideology is just horrible. And don't forget, don't give yourself the raw prawn. I just want to say a very special thank you to my wonderful patrons, especially my $10 Redback Spider patrons, Edith Furball, Lauren Hart, and Ross Devereux. Another special thank you to my $20 Platypus patron, Paul Butler. And of course, I cannot forget my $50 Inland Titan patron, Zolfna. I hope you enjoyed this. I apologise for its length, but there was a lot to go through and he rambled a lot, so I felt like I was needing to repeat myself in response. Please stay away from incel ideology because, as you can see, it's just not